Mayor Sloan Spalding, Police Chief Greg Jones, and others all expected to brief reporters shortly. Kate Seifert is at that news conference right now, waiting for it to begin. Kate, do you have a sense of what new information might be released? All right, we're waiting for a Kate Seifert to, she is at that news conference. She's at that news conference. Let me recap what happened last night around 10:30, just after 10. Oh, Kate Seifert is there live right now. Kate?
Hey, Terry. Yeah, hope you can hear me now. So yeah, we are waiting for that news conference to start. You asked me a minute ago, what do we expect to hear during this news conference? Well, for a while today, we were outside of the New Albany Police Department waiting to learn some more information about that suspect. We know that just before noon today, that suspect, Mr. Foster, was brought to the New Albany Police Department. That's where he was questioned by officers and detectives there. So in this news conference, we could learn a little bit more about a possible motive for this suspect. We could get some more information about some of the victims who were involved in this case as well. We are going to be hearing from the New Albany Mayor Sloan Spalding, as Terry mentioned, as well as the New Albany Police Chief. They are walking in right now, so as they get set up, marshals as well as the ATF. So those folks are filing in right now as we speak. They're going to be heading up to the podium here in a moment, and I will let us listen in.
Up New Albany Police Chief Greg Jones to share some additional details about the ongoing investigation. And we'll also hear from our friend Dallas Baldwin from the Franklin County Sheriff's Department. New Albany is a great community. We are a safe community and a great place to live and work. In fact, we've been rated one of the safest cities in all of Ohio. But sadly, any community in America can fall victim to random workplace violence. Last night, that random violence struck right here. New Albany Police got the first call at 10:22 p.m., and officers were on the scene 4 minutes later. I want all New Albany residents and the employees that work here to know that their first responders acted quickly, showing tremendous care and dedication to all involved. The City of New Albany is grateful for the focused teamwork of our partner agencies as well, all of whom have been today. Franklin County Sheriff Dallas Baldwin, Licking County Sheriff Randy Thorpe, the U.S. Marshal Service, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, Licking County Prosecutor Jenny Wells, the Ohio State, and the Office of the Ohio Attorney General's Bureau of Criminal Investigation. And let me thank the BCI special agents and technicians who showed up literally in the middle of the night to assist with the processing of this crime scene. The leaders of the New Albany International Business Park were also super helpful and professional throughout this entire incident, and we thank them for their support. I really want to thank the brave men and women of the New Albany Police Department and our dispatch team. We have some of the best here in New Albany, and I'm so proud of the dedication they have every day to keeping us safe. We all know that the test of a true community is not when tragedy strikes. The test is how the people of that community respond to that tragedy. And I'm very confident, as hard as the last several hours have been for our community, that we will overcome this challenge, as we have with everything else, as a community together. We encourage everyone to join in praying for all of those that have been affected by this crime, specifically the victims and the deceased. And praise all of those folks here today that have worked so very hard to make sure that our community remains safe, and that those that are responsible for this act are held to justice. And now let me introduce Chief Greg Jones. And in case those that haven't recognized, I don't think Chief Jones has been asleep for about 36 hours now. Not a better person I'd want at my wing side on an incident like this. Chief Jones, on behalf of a grateful community, thank you, and we look forward to your update.
Mayor mentioned that tragedies like this really test the community, and I think that the response to this tragedy really showed that the community is very strong. You know, one of the reasons that we have all these agency representatives behind us is that really it was an amazing turnout. We asked for help from 2 different sheriff's departments, from federal and state authorities, and there was many local jurisdictions that responded, a couple fire departments, and so really without the talent and the professionalism and the hard work of these people that did come out, like the mayor said, in the middle of the night, it really it would have been a lot harder for us to make an apprehension this quickly. You know, before I get started, this is an active and ongoing investigation, so there's a lot of questions that I can't answer, but I'll try to answer the ones that I can. So about 10:22 last night, we received a report of shots fired at KDC 1. If you're not familiar with KDC 1, it's a large building. It's a light. We're there within 4 minutes, along with a number of other jurisdictions that are represented here. Upon searching the building, we found 5 individuals who had sustained gunshot wounds that were injured, and 1 that was deceased from a gunshot wound. The suspect had fled the area, and we had just missed him. And immediately, the law enforcement community that responded launched a massive manhunt. And so overnight, there were warrants that were executed, and a lot of hard work, and ultimately resulting this morning with an arrest. The suspect is 28 years old. He was arrested in north end of Columbus, and on the arrest was New Albany police officers, BCI, the Marshal Service, ATF, and the Ohio State Highway Patrol. There may have been more that I just haven't mentioned. There was a less than lethal use of force applied, but overall there was no report of injuries. No law enforcement officers were hurt. The suspect was transported to the New Albany Police Department, where he was processed and questioned, and then since then he's been transported to the Licking County Sheriff's Office jail. With that, before I move forward, before we take questions,
well, good afternoon. I'm Sheriff Dallas Baldwin, and first, our thoughts and prayers go out to the victims and the families of the victims for this tragic incident. I'd like to echo what the mayor said about Chief Jones. Under his leadership last night, this could have been a very chaotic incident, a response from law enforcement. But we had numerous agencies, well over 100 cruisers, and it came together very well. Under Chief Jones, the searches took place instantly. Secondary searches, evidence was located, suspect information was developed, and having that instant communication with all the different agencies responding made all the difference in not having future night. And Chief Jones was up the entire night relaying information, and that resulted in a quick apprehension this morning of the suspect, and working with the U.S. Marshals Task Force. And just my comments are really to say how important it is to recognize all the agencies that came together so immediately, so quickly, and I truly believe that more lives were spared, because if we had not apprehended this guy as soon as we did, who knows what could have happened. But again, Chief, thank you for your leadership, and that's all I have. Thank you.
So at this point, we'll take questions. There was about 150 people in the building, employees. It has multiple shifts that run all day and night. So we were able to evacuate them quickly to another facility across the street. At that point, we interviewed people. They gave us information that helped develop a suspect. We also asked them about motive and maybe what's behind this. Nobody had reported that there was any conflict or that he was in trouble at work. So there was really no apparent motive at the time. Since then, now that we're learning more information and we're having a chance to talk to the suspect, that
On him?
no.
We received that from a family member of a victim that the KBC1 had received complaints about this suspect in the past. Do you know?
For our records, we don't see that we've had we've been called out there for.
The apprehension of the suspect, the less than lethal use of force. Can you talk more about that? What did it take? I understand he had to go inside the apartment and he didn't come out willingly.
Yeah, I don't know if the Marshal Service wants to talk about that anymore.
Thank you.
Yes, when we serve a warrant, ideally we want them to just come to the door. The apartment was surrounded, 12, 16 officers, helicopter above. There's no escape. So by refusing to come out, refusing the commands, our team had to enter the apartment, locate him in the apartment. He again resisted commands, would not show his hands, would not do what he was told, would not lay down, put his hands behind his back, and a taser was deployed so that he could safely be taken into custody.
At that point, it was relatively, it's never routine, but once the taser was deployed, you were able to apprehend him without incident?
Correct.
Chief, do you know what he was doing at that location?
At KDC?
No, no, at the apartment, the Pure Apartments in Columbus.
No, if you kind of look back over people's lives, there's an address history where people lived, and so this is just one of the locations that he currently lives, or I'm not sure if if he's the one paying the rent, but this is a place that he stays normally.
Any update on the other victims at this point? I know so many people are praying and hoping they're okay or will be okay.
Yeah, it's tough these days. We're not able to release a lot of information, and the family members have a right to say that they don't want that information released. So they are all they're hospitalized, and we're certain information on that. So I'm sorry.
Chief, do we still stand at 1 deceased and 5 injured, or have any more of the victims passed?
Currently, we have 1 deceased in the five that are currently hospitalized.
Could you elaborate on your last answer? You said motive was initially a mystery, but now it sounds like it's off.
I think it's not that we don't have a clear motive. I think that we're learning more about him and maybe some of his thoughts, that we are trying to develop a motive. Last night when we were talking to a lot of the people that were leaving the building and we were evacuating them, we didn't know anything about him, and so they really consistently, everybody we talked to, they're like, we have no idea there was no fight or anything like that. And so as we learn more in any investigation, you start to develop some additional information. I think we're there, but we don't clearly have one yet.
Guys, we want Chief to answer everybody's question. If you could raise your hand and allow him to call on you, so we don't talk over each other. Appreciate it. What led you to that apartment? Was it through the investigation or a tip?
It was through investigation. So.
Are you able to elaborate more on how this suspect was able to get a weapon into the building? And then we also heard on some of the 911 calls that there was possibly other people within the building trying to get that gun out of his hands in order to help other employees.
Yeah, there was, so first off, people have asked about security of the building. There are some built-in electronic security measures we needed to use fobs and things like that to make it through the building. To the extent of their security, we don't have that information. You might have to check with KDC. And then as far as the a confrontation, it does appear that there was contact between a victim and the shooter. I think at this point, I don't have a clear picture of how involved that contact was.
Can you take us back to last night and explain what it was like entering that space, what it looked like, how you were able to search the area and make sure that it was clear? For
this department, but years ago we used to have to get together a team of 4 before we would make entry on an active shooter. That was over 20 years ago or even longer. What we teach now is a single officer response, so the first officer on the shooter. Quickly, like I said, the response from our neighbors and sheriff's departments was amazingly quick. So we were quickly able to switch from a single officer response to putting in teams. And if I recall, I believe there was 3 teams that we sent in to clear the building. We also used a drone and canines. So the building is manufacturing, so it's not a bunch of offices that are pretty easy to. It's a lot of machinery, very loud, and there's a lot of nooks and crannies. So it took us hours to clear the building, the perimeter, and do that secondary check before we actually begin the work. Okay.
I know this morning he got a ride to work. Do we know any more about that and the person that possibly took him to work last night?
Yeah, he utilizes a ride share apparently on a routine basis, and so we don't believe there's any connection between the person that gave him a ride.
Chief, how long did he work for the company, and what did he do?
We don't have that information at this point. When talking with the management and the supervisor of the company, it wasn't, time did not allow us. Yeah, from information we gathered, he took a ride share to leave as well.
And then, as far as tangential motive, does it appear he knew the people he shot?
These were coworkers, so we don't, again, at this point, this is an active and ongoing investigation. We're not to the level where you know everything we're going to know at this point. But these were coworkers, people that work with them. With 150 people on a shift or so, they're going to typically know each other. So, try to picture.
Chief, usually these situations last a lot longer. Can you kind of explain how you guys were able to apprehend him so quickly and alive?
Yeah, I think that the KDC has a good network of cameras, which was helpful. We're able to tell us basically, is he still in the building or did he leave? And I think that basically the talent of the men and women of the police department and the talent of the organizations behind us, when you take all this type of resources and put them to good cause, each agency brings together different resources. Those together we're able to really, in a pretty fast manner, put together a picture of, hey, he might be in one of several locations, and basically divide and conquer. We had a tremendous amount of staff, and so people didn't need a lot of urging to go do their job. They really got to it quickly. Yes.
Earlier this morning, you guys used the word targeted
when
describing the shooting, and that there was not a threat to the community. Do you mean from a point of targeted just toward employees, targeted towards specific people, a specific person? Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
So we believe he brought the gun to work, and then also may have intended to take it with him when he left. So he chose to commit this act of violence at work. It wasn't, not on a share ride driver or not on a neighbor or something like that. So targeted in the respect that it was people that he works with.
Do you know how he obtained the gun?
I think that gentleman from the ATF, you want to kind of address this?
Sure. I'm Special Agent in Charge Daryl McCormick from ATF here in Columbus, and the suspect was the purchaser of the firearm. He purchased the firearm back in September of 2024, and we don't have any reason to believe that anybody else was involved in that purchase. He was not a prohibited person, so he was able to lawfully purchase that firearm.
What kind of gun? How many rounds?
Well,
Yeah,
the firearm was a Glock Model 26. That's a compact 9mm pistol. Normally the magazine that comes with it holds 10 rounds. It accepts a standard Glock magazine, and those can be up to 31 rounds. So I don't know exactly what he had, but.
Do you mind talking through what you guys do to trace the gun to see if it's been used in any other?
Model and serial number. We are tracing that information sent to our National Tracing Center in West Virginia. We then contact the wholesaler, the manufacturer, then the wholesaler. It leads us to the retailer, licensed dealer that sold the firearm. They maintain records according to federal law, and those records were rapidly available to us. And from that, we were able to look at what's called the 4473, the transaction record, and obtain the information about the person who purchased it, which was the suspect in this case.
So this is New Albany's first homicide. Would you mind speaking on that? Just how the community is feeling, how they're reacting to it?
Yeah, we've had felonious assaults, a shooting, stabbing, but nothing resulting in an actual death or homicide. So, this is obviously very rare for us. We typically every summer we're doing active shooter training within the schools to help build familiarity for the officers in operating the schools and for this type of incident. We sometimes rotate to different types of buildings. We do tabletops with these companies. We'll do active drills with them. So we prepare. You certainly hope that this never happens. But it's something that all police departments across the United States need to prepare for.
Real quick question about Mr. Foster's family. Are they nearby? And have you had conversations with them to shed some light, or where does that stand?
Yeah, we did speak with family member, at least one family member overnight, and it did result, that was not the key to locating him.
We have time for about 2 to 3 more questions. Do you have any indication as to when employees at the plant are expected to be back at work? I know the building was closed down today, but this is,
Yeah, I'm not. We turned the building, once the BCI committed the crime scene work, we released the building back to the management of the company, and they didn't indicate what their plans were bringing the operation back online.
Can you share details about the process of naming a suspect? We found out, I think it was like around maybe 4 this morning or 5 this morning, who that suspect is. Why did it take so long?
And as you know from the press coverage, this has reached far beyond the just Central Ohio area. So we have to make sure that somebody tells us this is who this is, somebody else says the same thing. Sometimes witnesses, they make mistakes or they're just not sure. We have to make sure that we're right. We wouldn't certainly want to broadcast to the United States that, hey, this is the bad guy, and find out this guy had nothing to do with it, and obviously damage him severely.
Could I go down maybe a degree farther? We determined that he knew his coworkers, which sounds like logical. Do you think he targeted those 6 people, or do you think they were just around when he started shooting?
I think I think there are obviously leads we're tracking down in that area, but nothing definitive that I can really answer.
This will be the last question.
Now that he's in custody, is he cooperating with law enforcement?
He has spoke with investigators. I don't know. I wouldn't call him fully cooperative, and so the next step is he will be arraigned tomorrow morning, I believe, in Licking County.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks so much for coming. You're welcome to email comms@NewAlbany, Ohio for more information. I believe I've spoken with more of you, and you can go to newalbanyohio.org/alerts for the most up-to-date information. Thank you all for coming. We really appreciate it.
Is giving an update on Tuesday night's fatal shooting inside a beauty products warehouse. Among some of the highlights, they talked about what happened last night. They say shots were fired around 10:22. 4 minutes later, police got there. 5 people injured, 1 person died. 12 hours later, U.S. Marshals took 28-year-old Bruce Foster into custody. They say at first he resisted commands to cooperate, and that's when they had to deploy a taser to get him to comply. Still not fully cooperative. He will be arraigned tomorrow in Licking County Court. There is no apparent motive right now, although they say there was some kind of contact between a victim and the shooter, but that matter is still under investigation. They say the warehouse had a good system of cameras, a good network of cameras that they were able to figure out where he might be. And through interviews with the 150 other people who were working in the building at the time, they were able to use that information and develop a suspect. Again, no apparent motive. 5 people injured, 1 person passed away. They say this is an ongoing investigation into what police are still calling a targeted shooting at the New Albany warehouse. Another big story developing out this hour is the weather. So let's get right over to Chief Meteorologist Marshall McPeak. And Marshall, you are tracking freezing rain.
It's moving in now. We have some ice out there already, and it's becoming slick across parts of central Ohio. It's going to be an interesting evening, to be sure. Take a look at radar, and you'll see what we're talking about. The pink is the freezing rain, and that stretches all the way out I-70 to Dayton and then down 71 to Cincinnati. It's even all the way out here in Indiana. You see how more of this is developing? That is coming our way. So over the next few hours, what we end up with is this creates an icy glaze. At the moment, the south side of Franklin County is getting some of the heaviest of that. It stretches down 23 all the way to Chillicothe and beyond, down 33 through the Hocking Hills. So there's plenty of this yet to come. Winter weather advisories cover all of central Ohio until early tomorrow morning. There's a good chance that this could be still having an effect on central Ohio through 11 o'clock tonight with freezing rain. Then the temperatures start to rise. So this turns into rain during the overnight hours. Now that will help melt off some of the icy glaze, but it'll take time to do that. In the process, what you have is a layer of ice with rain on top of it, so it makes it even more slippery. So that's why it may be very difficult during the night tonight. A lot of central Ohio has a good chance of at least 1/10 of an inch of ice, potentially even closer to 1/4 inch. That can cause power outages because it can bring limbs down and bring power lines down. So there's an alert for tonight through tomorrow morning for this freezing rain. Even though it's going to turn into just regular old rain, we will already have an icy accumulation, potentially up to 1/4 of an inch. Then rain on top of that, so you're going to have slick surfaces and icy roads during the overnight hours tonight. We will be here to track it through the night. Terry?
All right, thanks, Marshall. Look for updates throughout the night on the free ABC6 News app. To find it, just scan that QR code on your screen. Then sign up for push alerts so you always know when breaking news happens. We'll have live team coverage coming up for you on ABC6 News at 5.